the phrase I'm looking for here. But he's maintained a very specific balance, and it's resulted in excellent gameplay. And
yeah,
there's
it's
more to
definitely
come.
paid off.
I mean, we have VIP now coming, which will be showcased in our next show here, and that mode is just it's excellent. New game modes as well coming, and more focusing of the gameplay, and it's.
I am really excited to try out VIP, especially mapping for it. It's going to be so exciting.
Oh, indeed, and it's fantastic. It really is. It immediately became one of my favorite game modes. I think it goes battle, then VIP, then push, and skirmish, and it's fantastic.
It should be interesting.
Well, the fun thing about battle actually is the first map that's really, for me personally, not trying to toot my own horn, but with Baghdad, really where it comes into play, as it really reminds me of...
Steppenwolf made battle with Baghdad. I mean, and there were a couple of customs that still encapsulated that feeling, and it's delicate. It's very tricky to get right. You know, you have to have just the right balance of linearity with, you know, the right number of paths. I mean, it's difficult to design a very good battle map, but I think once it's done, you have something spectacular.
Yeah,
the gameplay,
really,
especially for pubs. The pub gameplay is just, and even in competition, it was often a tiebreaker map, and it's fantastic. But especially for pubs, when you consider the gameplay from other game styles from pubs, it's just so difficult to do. And the problem is, once you design a battle map, one of these linear maps, it really only works for push or battle.
Yeah, inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's so linear. I would actually love to see a battle version of Brewers. I wonder if that would work.
It could be interesting to see, absolutely.
It could be.
There is a skirmish setup on it as well.
Right, I did play that. That was actually very interesting. It was enjoyable. I think it could be improved enough to a point where it's real solid. It's another one of those difficulties, though, because, you know, push maps are also very specific. And to make a great push map, I mean, to make something that would play great in push or battle, you're going to have to compromise.
I take it it's hot.
You're going to have to compromise somewhere. So a great push map and a great battle map are very unique, but the gameplay it creates is just phenomenal. I've never found it in any other game.
The rocks on the left.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think a lot of it's just that linearity. It brings the people together, brings the team together. And in a pub, that's so important. It forces people together so that they end up working together.
Left of the rocks, you say?
Even if they don't mean to, they end up working together.
Rich.
And in today's age of, you know, people always lone wolfing and doing their own thing, I think it's really important that you have maps like Battle and Push, which start to get people used to working in close proximity, taking their time, moving together, communicating. That's one of the things I love about Push over Battle, that I think Push has over Battle, is that Push is so difficult. You know, you have one team who's dedicated to defending, so they're really well dug in. And then another team, you know, it's aggressive, yet the map is designed in such a way to make it difficult for the attacking team, to give, you know, advantages to the defensive team. And so you have this very difficult task, you know, to push through this map. And so it requires teamwork. You have to communicate. You have to work with your team. But you still get the respawns and everything that people are used to. So it's nice because I call Push the converting, you know, the conversion map game or game style, game mode. You know, it takes people who are used to just running around without teamwork and gets them used to working together, communicating.
All right, hold it down. Let's cap this.
Yeah, it definitely forces them into a specific type of gameplay.
Don't push.
Right.
Which is very, I mean, for Push, personally, it can either be tactics that draw people in, or it can be something like the challenge of overcoming, you know, being on the attacking team. And and winning.
Yeah, the
So I
defense is incredible because, I mean, you have to even use even more teamwork, because once you lose the point, you lose the point. You can't get it back.
Brutal. That was a fight. 2 waves.
And I like that how we still use the waves here, because it is important to still create a sense that you only have so many, reinforcements. You can't just throw away your life. You can take risks, if it means securing the point and,
from on top of the bridge.
holding out longer, but you still have to remain tactical and conservative with your life.
It's very interesting to see how on the fly, especially in pub games on these push maps, how the tactics kind of evolve dynamically.
Right. Yeah.
One wave.
It's exciting to watch. It's absolutely exciting to watch. Especially when you see someone in game who's always been a lone wolf, maybe in other game modes, and all of a sudden one day they start talking, they start communicating and getting real tactical. It's fantastic.
I mean, I have to admit, it does allow for that, which is fine. Especially snipers holding back, being conservative. But still, it gives backup or support for the pushing team.
I like the best difference between the mod push mode and this push mode is once you secure that objective, you get more time on the clock. Because right now, watch, if it's 2 minutes left,
Right.
we're going to gain more time, and it's not just going to end and the rest of the objectives don't matter anymore. Which is a big frustrating component of the mod, where you would fight and fight and fight for 10 minutes, finally get the objective in the last minute, and you only have 1 minute to capture the rest. It doesn't make any sense.
Right, and that was 0 waves. That was your last wave right there, capped
Exactly.
right at the last moment, and you get 5 more waves, more time on the clock. Such suspense. I really do love that improvement.
I think also we
It's a
could
really good call.
test out maybe the amount of waves that you start with, because there is a point where, there will be a balance between too many where people won't value their lives, and actually a finite amount where they will push that objective.
That's true. One of the things I would say, in contrast to that, is that one of the great things about push and battle and stuff is that it gives you enough time to actually get to know your team and develop a strategy. Because a lot of times it takes half of those waves at least just to figure out what you're doing, where people are going, and kind of fall into a groove, And then once you hit that sweet spot, that's when the game really, really picks up. That's when it really begins, Your team's starting to work together. People have organically created these partnerships or, teams. And I think that helps a lot in converting people. But you're right. I mean, it may force people to get to that point quicker if you take away a lot of the spawns.
Well, I don't mean a lot, but what is it now? It starts with 10. So what if you just started with 5 and then have less time? But you still need that sense of urgency to go and secure. Because I often notice how objectives get secured when there's only like 1 or 2 or 0 waves, like we just saw. But that's because there's incentive to do that. And that's why I think, some of the other game modes like Skirmish and Firefight work well, is because they're forced into that, that sense of urgency, that sense of, shit, we need to get things together so we can actually cap.
Watch that door.
Right. The problem I see is that if you push too much in that direction, people become so wary of their lives that they don't want to work together. They don't want to take the chance of putting trust into another person sometimes, and they don't want to take the time to actually work with someone, with some more lives, to the point where you have a sense of urgency, but not so much to where you're going to become selfish or paranoid with your life. I think there needs to be enough incentive to have teamwork, and I think that's one of the places with not enough lives so people can get especially in a map like this, on push and battle at least.
Well, one thing I can speak for is the pure adrenaline rush you get from getting these intense battles to work, especially last minute.
Well, exactly. That's my point, right? Is, you know, you promote that sense of intensity and that urgency with fewer lives and like fewer time. You're like, oh, well, I got to get this. And it may seem, you know, hard, but that's the point, right? Like, it needs to be difficult, and you're overcoming that situation, that difficulty, perceived difficulty, really. Because when you actually overcome it, then you think, wow, I did it. It's possible. So let's do it again. And, you know, a lot of teams get that sense of momentum from that.
Just on the other side of the building, you're on
Smoke was out on the right.
Well, that's what I mean. When you have more waves, it doesn't seem all that difficult because you have more chances at it. But when you got less, you have that sense of...
With less waves, I think it's actually the opposite. With more waves, you keep the battlefield saturated, which keeps a more tactical and robust field. It makes it more difficult, I believe, actually, by keeping people on the field. One of the problems I see about less lives, less waves, is that the battlefield quickly becomes stagnant. And then you don't have that dynamic. And one of the cool things about these dramatic conclusions, at least the push and battle conclusions, is that, you know, you have this really hectic, intense battle that occurs because you have people constantly on the field. You know, you need to. It just gives it more time for a build up. But I do think we'll end up seeing servers that do both, because both styles in push can yield incredible results. They just have different feels.
I don't know. I feel like if there's just too much chaos going on at this scale of a game, it just feels kind of unrealistic to me. Because, you know, we're not Battlefield. We don't have 64 players with huge combined arms operations. This is small-scale infantry.
2 ways, boys.
Well, it's hard to strike a difference, and it also depends on the map itself, I think.
Yeah, definitely. The map and the game mode.
How many waves are supposed to be there? And I can foresee that being very hard to.
Sniper on the right.
Yeah, that's another thing I'd like to see is more customization for the maps. So, because right now the game modes dictate how many waves, for instance, and I think that should be per objective, per map, so that, because I believe, yeah, every map is different, and I believe each map is going to end up having a sweet spot. Of course, the counter-argument for that is consistency in the game modes.
Well, I don't know about consistency in the game modes per se, but definitely having that customization is good, but like you said, we need to find a sweet spot, and I think our obligation as developers is to create, you know, that singular best experience, deliver that up front, and then allow people to kind of change it to their liking. But we still need to, you know, sell the game for what it is and how we see it, and coming up with that consistent vision is very important.
Truck on the right.
Last wave, make it count.
See, right now we got 0 reinforcements, but I was, you know, taking the risk. I know that I have to advance, but at the same time, I'm not just running as I have been for the last 10 waves. Should we go back to Baghdad after this round?
It'd be nice to switch to Karam, play a round of Karam, and then back to Baghdad. Showcase some more.
Well, we don't have much time, so I'd kind of like to test out that skirmish on Baghdad.
Oh, there's skirmish on Baghdad.
What is the map file? Is it A1? Minus Baghdad A1?
Alpha.
Alright.